Hello and welcome to Hybrid Warfare Analytical Group's podcast, a podcast dedicated to tackling Russian hybrid threats, disinformation, and the tools of influence Russian propaganda employs, produced by UCMC Ukraine Crisis Media Center. And today our topic is Wikipedia in Russian. So recently, at the end of last year actually, one of our analysts, Anastasiia Ratieieva, wrote the article called Wikipedia in Russian, How to Manipulate Information with Flexible Truths. So Wikipedia is a wiki, meaning anyone can edit nearly any page and improve articles immediately. You do not need to register to do this, and anyone who has edited is known also as a Wikipedian or an editor. In regards to Russia, the free online encyclopedia Wikipedia was briefly blocked back in August 2015 by Russia, and some of the articles of Wikipedia were included into various censorship lists disseminated by the government. Further threats to block were made after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Today, we're going to start by discussing and delving into the article written by Nastia a little bit more. So, Nastia, thank you for coming on to our second episode of our team's podcast. Let me throw this question to you straight away, Nastia. So, what motivated you to investigate the manipulation of information on the Russian version of Wikipedia, and how did you come across these differences which you found?
Okay, hello, Matt. Great question. I have always been interested in something you can see, but it plays a massive role in how politics is made and how public discourse is shaped, how people think, and what impulses to act those thoughts bring to them. In my opinion, it is critical to understand Russian hybrid threats through this prism, through this point of view. And also, Wikipedia is my favorite site in the world, not for research purposes, but to have fun with. And as a native Ukrainian speaker, as well as a native Russian speaker, in one moment I just understood that the difference between wiki in those languages is enormous. Not only by what a page says, but also by where accents are placed and what sources are referred to by flexible truth itself. And to dig in more deeply, I decided to do article about
Absolutely. You know, I actually remember the day we were in the office and you were looking on Wikipedia, just looking at some information about something. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I remember you saying, Matt, come here, look at this. Look at the differences between Russia's, Ukraine's and the English version of Wikipedia. And we were like, yes, we definitely have to do some analysis of this for sure. So among your research, though, Nastia, you provided some insights into the specific actions taken by the Russian government to censor or limit content on the Russian language Wikipedia. For our listeners that haven't yet read the article, or for those that have and need reminding, just tell us, how do you believe this influences the Russian-speaking world, the information that they get off this Wikipedia?
The Russian authorities have fined Wikipedia creators several times for not deleting pages which criticize the Russian regime. The Kremlin constantly tries to limit access to various versions of reality to its population, and Wiki is not an exception. Suing the source was not effective for a simple reason. The site is not subject to Russian jurisdiction. But as a result, the Russian establishment is constantly calling for the resource to be blocked. Also, to lessen Wikipedia's influence, the Wiki website was announced as a kind of analogy to the political, idealized product Wikipedia. I hate RuWiki personally. RuWiki is a website that is completely controlled by Russian authorities, as evidenced by its content, which is comprised of classic Russian war propaganda templates. The central narrative about Wikipedia in Russian propaganda that it is controlled by foreigners, so Russian RuWiki is obviously better. Propaganda calls original Wikipedia hostile information base and by doing all of this, Russian propaganda reminds the population that there are enemies everywhere, that the best is attempting to deceive Russian and Russian-speaking people whom Russia routinely classifies as Russian compatriots, and that no one or nothing can be trusted other than the state, the Kremlin itself. The Soviet Union, by the way, used the same rhetoric to limit the population access to ideologically harmful information, as father as son.
Absolutely. Nastya, you were saying there that they try to portray the Wikipedia version, the free version, as hostile. Does this version, I know obviously we were talking before when you were doing the analysis of this article, that the Russian government and the propaganda machine, they do spend a lot of time trying to edit the Wikipedia, even when it gets changed back to more kind of similar versions to the Ukrainian and English version. Does the Russian version, does it differ that much from the Russian wiki, or is it pretty much the similar kind of thing?
They pretty much similar, and it's okay, and it's understandable because Wikipedia is still Wikipedia. It's based on its principles, general principles, and authors just cannot write what they want because there are editors and so on, but the devil is in the details, and those details is super important, and those details are manipulated by Russian propaganda.
Absolutely. Tell the part I loved about the article is when you brought some examples, specific examples of the differences between the Russian, Ukrainian, and English versions. So obviously you're saying the Russian version differs very hugely from the Ukrainian and English version. Ukrainian English version is pretty much mirrored. Elaborate on these differences for our listeners and let us know, how does it contribute to the shaping perceptions of the current war?
First of all, these differences soften the edges of reality. Our reality in which the Russian Federation is an aggressor, standing for the Kremlin regime, is unacceptable, as well as using its symbols. And for example, the page Russian invasion of Ukraine since 2022 in Russian version define censorship as the process of blocking Russian state media in the European Union, the prohibition on using Z symbols on demonstration, and sanctions against those who glorify crimes against humanity and justify genocide. And because of this concept substitution, readers of the article form an impression or may form an impression of propaganda television as a relevant channel for spreading alternative truths. The prohibition on chauvinistic statements is equated with a restriction on free speech. And the second, this difference reinforces the narrative both sides are guilty. It is really popular narrative in Russian rhetoric aimed at distorting the perception of Russia's aggression in the war. And only the Russian version of the wiki mentions accusation from both sides and violation from both sides, even if these accusation and violations are not comparable at all. And as a result, even a resource independent on states and open to editing, such as Wikipedia, there is room for creating meanings favorable to the Kremlin regime.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that was the example you just brought to the listeners today. I think that was the one we were speaking about when you first came across it when we were in the office together. And that narrative that both sides are to blame is something that we see constantly in our analysis when we are monitoring Russian propaganda, isn't it? So absolutely. Tell me on regards to the most memorable moment for you of your research of this topic? Was there a moment which was the most shocking?
Not shocking. I was ready to anything. But quite surprising for me was to discover how easily governments may be caught and are caught on editing the wiki just by IP addresses, which you can so easily change, but for some reason Russian leaderships didn't, as well as other states' leadership. There are a number of bots on the X network. It was quite surprising that tweet whenever someone changes wiki pages from parliamentary IP addresses. A bot for Russian government's agents is also available, and it's not funny what a real impact you can have on people just by using open data that everyone trusts. Absolutely. But it is funny when you understand that deputies sit and edit their own Wikipedia pages somewhere in the Parliament of Great Britain, for example.
And, is this, this inability to cover their VPN, is this inability, is this stupidity? Is this incompetence? Or is this on purpose? Does the Russian Federation and the propaganda machine, are they doing this because they think, oh, no one cares, it doesn't matter if we get found out? Or are they just sometimes that stupid or trying to do something so quick which they miss all of these minute details? We see it a lot when we're monitoring. We see all these moments where we think, how did they miss that? Is that, in your opinion, especially in terms of Wikipedia, is that something they do on purpose, or is it stupidity?
I think that it is not doing by purpose, but I think that Russian authorities is understood what they can do wrong, and they thought about yourself as so powerful, so unstoppable, that they thought, yes, we can be caught. And what?
What will happen out of it? Probably nothing, because obviously it's expected from them a lot of the time. You know what, Nastia, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been great to delve in a little bit more to Wikipedia in Russian, how to manipulate information with flexible truths. Guys, stay tuned. We've got lots more to come in the future. Thank you. Take care and stay safe.